everyone, welcome to or back to my booktube channel. Happy July. In today's video we are going to be talking about the 10 books I read in the month of June. As you can see, we have some really thick books and I'm really proud of myself for how much I read. It's a really good reading month where like half of them were Throne of Glass books and the other half were like summery romances. So if you've been keeping up with my latest videos, then you know what my first two reads of the month are. I finished May being about halfway into both of these, and this is the tandem read if you're unfamiliar with Throne of Glass. So you read these simultaneously, which was definitely interesting. It was a challenge, but I can say that I definitely recommend reading the tandem. I genuinely cannot imagine reading Empire of Storms and then having to read Tower of Dawn next. I'd rather do them at the same time and then get to read the final book. So because these are books 6 and 7 of an 8-book series, like I really can't say much besides you should definitely pick up Throne of Glass if you haven't already. It's literally amazing. It's so good. At one point I was like, I don't know how anything could top ACOTAR, and then I kept reading and I'm so obsessed with Throne of Glass. I'm so sad to say that I finished it, but I gave this 4.5 stars. I didn't write many notes on this, which I'm kind of upset because I don't have anything to say to y'all. I just know that I always wanted to be in this book rather than this one, which I gave 3 stars. This is still good. It just wasn't my favorite. Yeah, I think I'm gonna leave that there. Next up, we have all the books I read in my 48-hour readathon. So I'm not gonna go over those for too long since I did talk about more of them in that video. So the first book I read in that video was Done and Dusted by Lila Sage. This is set in a small town in Wyoming, and it's a cowboy romance. We have Clementine, who goes by Emmy, and Luke is her brother's best friend. And so obviously like their relationship is like forbidden. She's off limits. And their relationship as they were growing up seems like he was always just picking on her. Like they weren't enemies, but they definitely like weren't the best of friends. And she went away for college. She comes back because of a situation which he ends up helping her with, and I really love his dynamic in that. But when she comes back into town, they have like this new chemistry. He's also the bar owner, and I really liked Luke. I really liked both of them. I believe I only gave it a 4 stars because it felt like the book could have been written at like 100%. Like it felt like this was written at like 85. I would have preferred if she went into more topics and more storylines, but it's really short. It's like a 350-page read, so really cute, really sweet, a great cowboy romance. If you want to pick it up, I highly recommend. Next up, we have a book I hated, and that is Summer Sisters. No, really, I gave this 1 star. I'm not sure if I've ever given a book 1 star. But before we talk about my thoughts, let me tell you what it's about. It is set in the summer of 1977, and it follows 2 girls, Victoria and Caitlin. They're very different. Caitlin is dazzling, reckless. She has a lot of privilege. Her family is like wealthy. She always vacations on Martha's Vineyard, and one year she brings Victoria, and that's when their friendship really develops. See, so I guess when I picked this up, I really focused on that paragraph, but the paragraph under is like, now, years later, she's working in New York City, and like, the setting changes, and I hated that part of the book so much. Like the last line of this says, after all these years, she needs to know why her best friend, her summer sister, still has the power to break her heart. Yeah, she did. She broke my heart. I don't think they were really good friends. I didn't enjoy this book. It wasn't necessarily a summer book despite the cover. Yeah, I need to stop talking about this book. And the last book I read in that video was Mixed Signals by B.K. Borson. She's the author of Lovelight Farms, and it follows the same town of Inglewild. And we have Layla and Caleb, and they both are only really missing one thing in their life, like being in love. She's a baker, he's a teacher. They're both really sweet. So you're probably wondering like, why don't they just like get together, boom, easy. But she like refuses to date people in their town because it's such a small town, which like is a valid rule in my opinion. But then he ends up saving her from like a first date gone wrong, and he ends up proposing that they should fake date while showing her what like a true gentleman should be like, and he's like kind of getting experience, stuff like that. So fake dating, 2 likable characters. This just fell flat for me because I didn't feel like anything special. I gave this 3 stars, which I feel so bad saying, but I don't really know if this author is for me. It had some sweet lines, but like, I think I'd rather read other stuff that I think I'll like more. Moving on, we have one of my favorite reads of the entire month, Ellen Hildebrand's Summer of '69. I gave this a 4.25, but I think I might be bumping it up to a 4.5 because I loved this book. It's definitely my favorite Ellen book for sure. It is very similar to her other books where it's following a family, it has drama, multiple POVs. We have the eldest sister Blair, middle sister Kirby, Tiger who is recently deployed to Vietnam, and then the youngest Jessie, and then like adult drama stuff, but I loved this so much. Obviously it's set in the summer of 1969 and it takes place in Nantucket, but also a bit on Martha's Vineyard. And it really reminded me of Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. So if you like that, honestly, I recommend this. If any of y'all have recommendations for books similar to this, let me know. Next up, I read a new release, which was Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood. Ali Hazelwood is known for writing STEM romances, but if you haven't heard from anybody else recently talking about this, this is less of a rom-com. And she leaves an author's note in the beginning talking about how it's more under the erotic romance. So luckily I had read that author's note beforehand and adjusted my expectations. And I wasn't sure how I was gonna like this, but I ate it up. Like I genuinely loved this. I really liked that Eli and Rue felt three-dimensional. They felt very well written despite this book being set up the way that it was. I'm just gonna read part of back of the book. It says, Eli Kilgore and his business partners want Klein, which is a company that Rue works for, period. Eli has his own reasons for pushing this deal through, and he's a man who gets what he wants, with one burning exception, Rue, the woman he can't stop thinking about, the woman who's off limits to him. Torn between loyalty and an undeniable attraction, Rue and Eli throw caution out the lab and boardroom windows. And then it goes on, but I mean, that's kind of all you really need to know. So it's still STEM based, but the plot of the takeover was so interesting to me. I really liked that. Also, I feel like I could be very wrong on this, but I think this might be Ali Hazelwood's first book where she has both POVs, and I absolutely loved Eli's. I felt like we were almost in Eli's POV more, and we got to see his friend group, which I really enjoyed. And yeah, I gave this 4.25 stars. Next up is another book I do not own, but I have since purchased both of these. They just haven't gotten here yet. This is Swift and Settled by Lila Sage, the second book in the Rebel Blue Ridge series. This follows Ada and Wes is a part of the Ryder family, so he is Emmy's sister from the first book, and he is doing some big dream project of his on the ranch, and he hires this city girl interior designer, and the day before the project starts, he randomly runs into some girl that he's never met in this small town, and they kind of have this passionate kiss make out scene. And then, what'd you guess? It's Ada and it's Wes, so her boss. I actually don't understand how Wes couldn't put two and two together that this beautiful woman is in town for his project. I mean, hello, if it's a small town, why would some random girl be at this dive bar? Anyways, it's a romance between the two of them. I really liked that she was the interior designer. I like to see like her vision and that come to life. I did enjoy that, but I did give this book 3 stars. Once again, these characters just didn't really connect with me. I also felt like this author was definitely a millennial, and it showed through her writing. So like a lot of people her age probably thought certain scenes were really funny, but some of them really cringed me out. This isn't a spoiler, but for instance, she's driving onto the farm and she can't get these cows away from her car, so she rolls down her windows and plays the song like "Move, Bitch, Get Out of the Way," and she, oh yeah, that scene, I think I had to shut the Kindle off for a second after that. Anyways, I'm really excited for the next book. I think that one is going to be my all-time fave. I have really high hopes for that one. And then we have another book by Ali Hazelwood. This is Bride, where there is an arranged marriage between a werewolf and a vampire. I can't believe I just said that out loud. No, it was good. It was a paranormal romance. I listened to this one on audiobook, and I'm not sure if that's why, but I didn't really care too much. Like, I was kind of bored with the plot. not bored enough to DNF. I did end up giving this 3 stars, but I guess it just didn't keep my attention as much as I was hoping for. Lastly, unless you guys just want me to start bawling my eyes out, I don't really think I can speak about Kingdom of Ash. This is the last book in the Throne of Glass series. It was huge. I also used audiobook to help me through this just because I wanted to read it, but I needed that help. So I had it on my Kindle and I would listen, and that's what I needed. I personally thought that this was the perfect ending to the series. I was really happy with how everyone's story got wrapped up. And I know I said I cried throughout this, and I did, but I'm also a really emotional person. I think this had the perfect amount of sad scenes. Like, a lot of my tears were happy tears. Not all of them. It's happy and sad. I mean, hello, it's a Sarah J. Maas book. But this was so good that I've started looking into the Crescent City series. Even though I said I wouldn't be interested in that whatsoever, I just don't like a world where there's not another Australian book for me to read. So if you have any thoughts on the Crescent City, please leave them down below. I would love to know. I am insanely sad that the series is over. All of these characters have my heart. Their growth in these books. Guys, why did I open it? I'm being so serious when I say I already want to do a reread. Also, I gave this book a 5 stars on Goodreads because, like, yeah, I mean, the emotions got me. I'm gonna give it a 5 stars. But in reality, it was kind of like a 4.25. I wasn't super thrilled with the pacing of this and a few other things I will not say here. But yeah, those were the 10 books I read in the month of June. I'm already so excited for July, especially finishing that big of a series. I feel like I have more time to read other books. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope to see you guys in my next video. Love you, goodbye.